Welcome to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am your co-host, Adam Schmidt. Sitting to my left, our other co-host, Christopher Witt.
How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
If I was any better, I'd be you.
Tell me a little something about how your day was today.
Was
Was it a good day? Was it an okay day? Was it a bad day?
I'm gonna go with okay day.
Okay
The old lady came down with the flu, so she's supposed to be with the kids today. So I got a little kid duty today, which was fun. We had a lot of good times, and yeah, that's about the day.
You're so positive. You're the most positive guy I've ever known.
Well, we're leaving in 2 days for Disney, so
you know
we
what?
gotta quarantine her, make sure she's all right. Aaron, get well soon, and
Yes.
we'll be fine. Everything's good.
All right.
As long as the kids don't come down here while we're doing this, they stay asleep, then we're excellent.
We're doing all right. Okay. All right, good. So we've got a lot of stuff today, right? There's a lot of stuff we're not even going to get to. You know, Odell Beckham Jr. is a Brown.
I don't even listen. We got this. We're going to save football offseason. I want to get Andre Edwards back on our Bengals. Our Bengals specialist, if you want to call it that. He's a writer on LockedOnBengals.com. Check him out. Andre Edwards on there. And I want to get him on here because my man has been blowing Twitter up.
Yes, he has.
Check him out.
I'll tell you, he and every other Bengals fan, I think,
Yes.
because they're signing guys left and right, the same guys that underperformed last year, and they're throwing out 3-year contracts all over the place. People seem to be a little upset. This is supposed to be a positive time where there's a new coach after whatever it was, 15, 16 years. And people, I think, were starting to get excited. And now the last week or two, it hasn't been great for Bengals fans. So anyway,
I think I might be I'm leaning towards Andre. I might go get me a Nick Chubb jersey.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It would fit me perfectly. The back of it says Chubb.
Now, come on, that's not.
It's all right if you're talking about yourself.
That's not a good description. Anyway, okay, so there is a lot of stuff that's going on. We're not going to get to it all. You know, in the next couple weeks, we're going to start talking baseball because spring training is going to be winding down here. But right now, of course, we are in the thick of basketball season. We are in the most exciting time right now. Conference tournaments are going on right now. This Sunday is Selection Sunday, greatest day of the year. And
without a doubt, the greatest day. No, I don't know. I take that back. No, I don't think so.
Give me the greatest day of the year.
I think the greatest day of the year is opening day.
Okay.
In Cincinnati is the greatest day of the year. However, I would have to put one of the first 4 days of the tournament better than Selection Sunday because the way these guys have it now, you basically know the whole field. There's like 2 teams that you don't know if they're going to make it or not.
I remember
66 of the 68 teams that are going to be in
right.
it.
I remember a few years ago when it was still like Joe Lunardi would update his bracket like once a week.
Yeah.
Now it's like once every 2 hours.
It's ridiculous.
It's like a real time updated constantly now, which is awesome. I love it. But
it's too much.
But it's great. It's great to follow everybody. You know, there are already conference tournaments that are complete. So we already have, I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 teams that are locked in.
Congratulations to Wofford, however you want to call it. I really that team's got potential. That team can go somewhere. They got a little guy on there that can shoot the lights out of the ball. I think they're ranked 20th in the country right now, or they're in the top 20. They went undefeated in league play. Didn't get to see them play that much all season, but watched a lot of highlights and watched them in that tournament, and they look good.
They do look good. It's always fun to try to figure out which kind of
who the Cinderella is going to be.
Teams, right?
Who the Cinderella is going to be.
So yeah, it's
they went on an 18-0 run to win that. I'm sorry, an 18-2 run to win that game.
That's impressive.
It is.
That's impressive. You got to be playing your best basketball at this time of the season, and we find out who that is in these conference tournaments, right?
That's right.
So speaking of that, before we jump on that really quickly, our Nosebleed Sports Podcast greatest nicknames in NBA history tournament. Okay,
yeah.
Our own tournament.
Larry Legend versus the Admiral last week.
Right. Larry ran away with it. He mopped the floor with the Admiral.
Yes, he did.
Now, so moving on to this coming week. So Larry moves on to the next round. This coming week, though, we're gonna jump back up in the bracket. Okay. So what happened really quickly was the first week, the whole thing was the dream versus the answer. It ended up being 50-50, the votes on Facebook. We figured that out a couple weeks ago. I threw a Twitter poll up, and that ended up being 50-50 as well.
Just ridiculous. So
there was not meant to be a winner, but you very graciously offered to rescind your vote, which was even more impressive because you voted for the answer, and by pulling your vote,
the answer lost.
The dream won.
It's okay. You lost the microwave. I'll take the loss of the answer. Speaking of the answer, real quick, we told the story about a guy who I got in a conversation with in Columbus about the answer and how he said he could stop Allen Iverson.
Yes.
He only had one move, and it was lackluster at best. Okay, whatever. Anyway, Mr. Coco, if you listen to this and you would like to come on, hit me up at Sickwitted, SICWHITTIT, on the tweet box. I heard you want to come on and state your case, give your side of the story. So if you're up for it, brother, we're up for it.
We don't want to be a one-sided podcast here.
Right.
We want to hear everybody's opinion on this stuff. So, more than welcome.
I want everybody to hear his side of the story.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. Okay, so then because the greatest travesty in the history of sports, Michael Air Jordan did defeat the microwave.
Yes, he
Vinnie
did.
Johnson.
He should have.
And Air is a better nickname than the microwave. Okay, people. Anyway, I'm just gonna move past that. Michael Jordan,
it's all right.
So it's gonna be the Dream versus Air.
So it's literally Dream versus Air.
Dream versus Air. In this coming, so jump on Facebook. On the Nosebleed Sports Podcast Facebook page, I will put it up tonight. We will have it. So just get on and vote. Whoever is the better nickname, not the better player, the better nickname. If you like the Dream or if you like Air Jordan better, jump on there and vote. Speaking of Facebook, if you are joining us tonight on Facebook Live, we are on every Wednesday on Facebook Live. Thank you very much for joining us. Please feel free to comment as we go along, and we try to keep up with your comments. We don't probably see all of them because we're trying to get the show going, but Chris is very good at keeping up with that stuff. I'm very poor at it.
Do the best we can.
Right. So anyhow, so moving into these conference tournaments, right? First of all, I think we're going to start. We like to try to cover as many of the area teams, and when I say area, within a couple of hours of where we are in Cincinnati. We covered Xavier quite a bit last week. We definitely try to give UC some run, but your Kentucky's, Louisville's, any team within an hour or two of us, we like to try to cover. That's mostly the listeners we get right now. If you have a favorite team though, and you want our opinions on it, jump on Facebook.
To be honest, if we don't talk about them and you want our opinions on it, they're probably not going to be that great. Because we talk about what we know.
I'll look into it and form an opinion, though.
There you go. I'm good with that.
All right. Okay. So jumping right in, we're gonna go south a couple hours and go to Lexington. Let's talk about Kentucky and the SEC.
Look,
tournament.
this is the easiest of the seeds of the local teams of your NKUs, your Ohio States, your UCs, Xavier, Kentucky. This is the easiest of all of them. Right now, Lenardi's got him on a 1 seed. Duke is no longer in that one level for him at this point. And I think this Kentucky team is one of the best defensive teams I've seen Coach Cal have since he's been at Kentucky. By the way, Coach Cal, we appreciate you watching all the time. Congratulations on your 300th victory at Kentucky. That's pretty amazing. I feel like he hasn't been there that long to get 300 wins at Kentucky.
He's been there a while.
He has. So congratulations. Thanks for watching and all the comments. But anyway,
speaking of the comments, not sure why nobody's hearing any audio. That's okay.
Oh, is that right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with the Facebook live feed. I don't know. It's saying broadcast interrupted on my. Oh, there it is. So it's up. I think people can see us. They just can't hear us.
That's all right. Adam's going to talk about Kentucky, and I'll see if I can fix it.
We'll figure something out. So in this SEC tournament, Kentucky did end up with the 2 seed. I don't like their draw for winning this tournament because they're going to have to play Tennessee in the semifinal game. Now, they're going to play the winner on Friday. Kentucky will play the winner of Alabama-Ole Miss, who plays tomorrow, Thursday. I'm really torn on that game. But I don't think it's going to matter. I think Kentucky's going to beat Alabama or Mississippi. But then they're going to have to face the winner of probably Tennessee and Mississippi State, which I think is going to be Tennessee. And Tennessee spent some time as the number 1 team in the country this year.
That team is tough.
They are tough.
Schofield, that kid is the whole team. It's a resilient team. They hustle like crazy everywhere they go. I really enjoy watching those guys.
Yeah. So, but Kentucky, they're going to really have to earn it, is what I'm saying. They're going to have to beat Tennessee, and then they're going to have to beat LSU, South Carolina, Auburn, whoever comes out of that top bracket. So they're going to have to win 2 really tough games. Now, for a team like LSU or South Carolina or Auburn, maybe even in Arkansas or Florida goes on a great run, they're coming out of that top. So LSU is going to be the best team in that top bracket. So you're going to have, if you're in that top bracket, you're going to have to beat one of those teams, and then you don't have to face Kentucky or Tennessee until the championship game. Now, that might make for a South Carolina, an Auburn, a Florida, an Arkansas, one of those teams that might be on the bubble, give them a couple of wins and bolster them into an at-large bid if they lose in the conference championship. So, anyway, but sticking with Kentucky, I don't know. I can't decide whether I think they're going to beat Tennessee. I kind of don't think so. I think Tennessee ultimately – now Kentucky's playing their best basketball now.
So Tennessee beat Kentucky in Tennessee, beat them pretty well. Kentucky beat Tennessee pretty well at Rupp in Kentucky. This is an even matchup here. They're going to be in Nashville. I'm going to tell you right now, they might be in Nashville, Tennessee, but they'll be more blue than there will be orange in that place.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And it's going to be basically a home game for them. Good for you. I got Kentucky. I think Kentucky wins this game. Kentucky's playing some of their best basketball, and I enjoy watching them play. And besides the fact, John Calipari's been basically playing with 7 guys. And P.J. Washington's been leading the way for him. They will be back in. Hopefully, we don't know if he's going to be back yet or not, but hopefully they'll be playing 8 guys. That makes them a little bit deeper and much better team going into it.
Yeah, the thing about Calipari teams is typically they are a much better team at the end of the year than they are at the beginning of the year. And, of course, they start out the year in the top 5 every year because they always have the best recruiting class. But and I think that's going to be the case this year again. But that's the other thing too is these Kentucky teams, they're always really young. So that's they have everybody in the country, and they also have
they're playing defense now. But in Reed Travis, if Reed Travis makes it back and is able to play in this tournament, I think they win. If he doesn't come back for the SEC tournament, maybe they sit him out a little longer. He doesn't make it back until the NCAA tournament. Then maybe then it's going to be a little tougher road because they're going to have to play 3 games, 3 days, basically playing 7 guys. They play 8 or 9 every once in a while, a 9th, sometimes 8. Most of the time 8, but that guy will get 5 minutes. Baker Smith will only get about 5 minutes a game, so he's just kind of a quick blow. So it's going to come down to, I think, Reed Travis. Reed Travis is probably 1 or 2, the first or second best player on that team anyway. So when he's back, that team's going to be even better.
Now, sometimes for teams like Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, the teams that know they're going to be in the tournament, whether they win their conference tournament or not, sometimes you kind of get the feeling like maybe they're okay with an early exit in the conference tournament because they get a few extra days rest, and they get extra time to kind of rest up and get healthy and get a couple extra practices in, which is a coach's dream.
Right.
So that's always interesting to me, is seeing these teams like the Kentuckys, like the Dukes, when they do lose in the conference semifinals or even the quarterfinals sometimes, it's kind of like, okay, well, we don't want to lose, obviously, but guess what? We get a little extra time to prepare and things like that. So,
Right.
um, anyway, so we don't want to spend too much time on Kentucky here.
Yeah, they're gonna end up being a number 1 seed. I think that'll stay where they're at, and we'll go from there.
Now, if Tennessee beats Kentucky in the semifinal and then wins the conference championship, do you think Tennessee moves into that 1 spot and Kentucky moves down to the 2?
Man, a lot goes into that. I think a lot goes. I don't think so. No, I think Kentucky still holds on to that 1 seed because
Really?
I don't think I think Tennessee's got a 2 seed locked up, but I think that's about where they're going to end up losing at the end of the year like they did. I don't see them making that jump.
Okay. Because you kind of have a similar situation with Duke and Carolina. After that
Duke's been beat twice by Carolina. That's why Carolina's there now. So
Right.
even if Duke comes back and beats them, I still feel like Carolina holds the edge at this point in time, especially with Zion still not playing.
But if Zion Williamson comes back and they beat Carolina and they win the ACC tournament, you don't think Duke?
Yeah, then I think if Zion Williamson's on that team, they're going to get a number 1. They'll end up with a number 1 seed, and they win the tournament. They'll end up with a number 1 seed. The committee seems to look at who's injured, who's not, who's coming back, when they're coming back, and makes adjustments based on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that's just my personal opinion. I'm not Joe Lunardi. All I know is both those guys are going to be a 1 or a 2 seed. They're going to be locked up pretty well.
Right.
So they're going to be sitting pretty no matter where they're at. Unlike I feel the UC Bearcats, who currently Joe Lunardi has at a 7 seed.
Yes. And they're a 2 seed in the American Athletic Conference
And
tournament.
Houston is a better team than UC.
They
Houston is a very good team, and UC is played extremely well and has had a really good year for the type of year that everyone thought they were going to have. Everybody assumed UC and Xavier were going to have the similar type of year, a down year, still good, but down year. That team has played well. Obviously, Mick keeps that defense going. They've been down a lot. They've made a lot of second-half comebacks, which is fun. It's always somebody different that steps up, it seems like. You got Cumberland, who's there every week. Cumberland is always the guy. Now, lately, you've been seeing a lot of the videos. He's getting held all the time. They're beating him up, pushing on him, pulling on him. Not a lot of things being called. In the conference tournament, you're going to see that stuff start getting called. Things get tighter. I feel like things always seem to get tighter. Maybe not as much in the conference tournaments, but definitely once it gets to the NCAA tournament. That's going to free them up. But between Najir Brooks, is that the way you say his first name? Najir.
I think so.
Between Brooks, Jennifer, Broom, somebody's stepping up consistently for these guys to be that second guy, which has been what they need. And I think, can they make a run? They play such if they play defense. They play such, because they didn't against Houston in that last game.
Right.
If they play defense, they can keep anybody close. And they've proven they can come from behind. So can they make a run? Can they get to a Sweet 16? Yeah, I think they can make it to a Sweet 16. Does Cronin have does a Mick Cronin coach team have that kind of feel to it? Well, this is supposed to be a down year for him, and he usually doesn't make it past the second game or first weekend. I don't know that it'll happen. I hope that it happens. I hope they get to a Sweet 16, but I don't see them being a huge upset team or somebody to watch.
Well, right now, if everything holds true, you mentioned Joe Lunardi has them at a 7 seed. They would play Arizona State in the first round, and then they would play the number 2 seed, in this case LSU. So they would have to beat Arizona State and LSU. Those 7-10 games, those 8-9 games, that usually seems to be where UC kind of ends up, or at least in the years like this where they do well in their conference, but they, the conference isn't incredibly strong. It's not a horrible conference. I don't think it's as bad as I think some people think.
No, it's not a terrible conference. It's.
You're probably
I
gonna get
compare it a
4
lot
teams
to what an A10 used to be. The A10 has fallen down. I feel like the AAC, the way that these mid-majors, there's no mid-major really. I mean, I feel like the mid-major is gone because all those really good mid-major teams are now in big conferences. We've talked about this before. However, VCUs and Butlers and Xaviers and all these guys. Mm-hmm. However, So that takes your A10s and knocks them down a notch, but it takes this new AAC, and that's basically what I see is, that's that old A10 where they could get 4 teams in, as much as 4 teams in, or it could be 1 or 2. It just depends on how everybody else plays, but it is a good conference. It has potential to be a good conference. You got UConn in there. I mean, I don't care if UConn's been down for as long as they have. It's still the name UConn. Just 10 years ago, I saw yesterday was the anniversary of the Syracuse-UConn 6 overtime game. One of my the best game I've ever watched in my life. That is the best basketball game I've ever seen. Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
And they ended up winning. UConn lost that game and ended up winning a national championship. That was just 10 years ago. That's not that long ago. They still got a name. That conference can be very good.
I have that game on DVD.
Do you?
I do.
Me and Mike Little stayed up, watched that whole game.
Wow.
We were laying in bed together holding hands.
Oh my gosh.
That really didn't happen.
That's
We
cute.
were sitting on a couch.
That's very cute.
Not on the no, he was on a chair. I was on the couch.
Sitting on the couch holding hands. UConn.
He wishes.
UConn. I'm not sure it's going to happen for the Huskies this year because if they beat USF, if they beat South Florida, they're playing Houston.
I'm just saying that school, that conference has potential to get as many as 4 or 5 teams in when they're all playing well.
Definitely. The top 5 teams are good enough to be in the tournament, I think for sure. At least the way they're seated in this, because you got Houston, you got Cincinnati at 2, Temple at 3, UCF at 4, and Memphis at 5. I think all 5 of those teams are good enough.
Sure.
Now, I think having finally gotten to sit down and watch Houston last week when they did beat UC,
buddy, I'll tell you what,
it was
I'm
a good
convinced
team. They're really good.
They're a good
really,
team.
really
I mean,
good.
I can see them. I'm not sure where Lenardi's got them right now, but I'm going to tell you right now that Houston team is a team that you can see making a run because they can score, they can play. They can score against some of the best defensive teams in the country. They did it against UC. They did it twice against UC.
Yeah.
So it can be that team. Without a doubt, I think has room to make a run in this tournament.
They are, and they can be a good defensive team too. Right now he's got them at a 3 seed, playing Harvard in the first round.
I was going to say 3 or 4, but I couldn't find them on there. So.
Yeah, and they would have to play Nevada or Texas.
You can't even the teams.
Tennessee.
This means nothing. I'm going to tell you right now, it means nothing. The seeding is what means something to me. Who they're playing and who they may play, that means nothing in this. Lenard, that's got nothing.
Right, it's a guess.
Sure.
It is a guess.
But it's the seed that matters to me because it's a. I mean.
But the draw does depend. I mean, it depends on what kind of draw you do get.
Sure.
Because
you could end up in a killer East and end up being like UC a couple years ago and win 1 game and have to play.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a big difference between the best 2 seed and the worst 2 seed, or the best 3 seed and the worst 3 seed.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a pretty big gap. So it depends on who you're going to have to play in that second round or third round. Okay, so anyway, so as far as the American Conference Tournament, do you see UC? So they would have they play on Friday at 7:00 against the winner of Tulsa and SMU. Assuming they win that game, they would play the winner of Temple and likely Wichita State, which is probably going to be Temple because Wichita State's down a little bit this year. So say UC plays Temple.
Temple's played well.
They have played really well. So I mean, do you see them beating Temple?
Yeah.
Okay. Then in that case, they would end up with a matchup again in the championship game against likely Houston. So if they play Houston in the championship game,
it's probably going to be an L.
It's
more than likely. Will it be a good game? I would hope it would be a good game. Chances, I mean, I don't know. Houston's got a ways to go to get to Memphis. It's not a bad. Maybe UC gets a good draw down there, becomes like another home game on a neutral court. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we kind of are on the same page there. We both probably see Houston winning that conference championship, but UC is, they've got a good chance to at least make the championship game. So I'm not sure that's going to even change their seed anyway.
Maybe they bump to a 6, but I don't know. The way that they ended the season really seemed to be struggling at the end of the year. They lost to USF and they lost to Houston back-to-back games. I mean, they need a run. If there's ever a team that needs to win a few games in a conference tournament, I think it's them. One thing, Mick Cronin came out the other day after they lost to Houston and decided he was going to call Luke Fickell and get some football players to try out, and they were having open tryouts this past Monday. I haven't heard how that open tryout went, or if anybody on his scholarship team has made the trip to Memphis or not, because he wasn't sure if they were going to.
Yeah.
But
UC's had football players on their team before.
Plenty of times, sure, during the glory days.
Right.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that move by Mick? Listen, gimmicks are a thing that coaches do all the time, right? You have burying film, burning film. They won't watch game film after a terrible loss. They'll just burn it right there or do something crazy to act like that game never happened, move on and go. You see stuff like that all the time. What do you think about a guy coming out and saying we're having open tryouts for the conference tournament? And I'm not kidding. He said he said he's not kidding at all. There's no joking there. They're literally going to have a tryout.
Except they are not.
Well, sure.
Right. I mean,
sure. Of course they're not. That's what annoys.
It doesn't do anything to me. I don't think. I think it's just a coach being frustrated at the end. After a bad loss.
It was a bad loss.
The guy looks frustrated constantly, never ending.
Yeah.
But
they can be up by 20, and he looks like they're losing by 30.
Yeah. So, right. But he was frustrated. He said that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, I saw actually a Xavier fan on Twitter, who is always out to disparage UC. Like he roots against UC more than he roots for Xavier. And I see it even more from UC people doing that. But it's become like my least favorite thing on Twitter, like more so than politics, maybe even. Like UC and Xavier fans, instead of supporting their teams, have like coming up with bad things to say about the other guy or about like unprompted too. Like, okay, like the week that you play in the crosstown shootout, okay, maybe.
Sure.
But 3 months after that, why is your goal to just make UC look as bad as you can or Xavier look as bad as you can? Because you're so insecure. It's insecurity.
I completely agree. And I don't know if it's insecurity or if it's just, to be honest, I think what it is just like that fan in Utah. I think there are just fans, both sides, that because that fanatic, that fan, they get a little crazy. They get out of their. It's not really who that person probably is. I feel like it's not. I feel like if you're a fan of a team and you listen to somebody talk about their team, that's probably not a good representation of who they are in real life. Either way, maybe. I do think it's ridiculous. I think that's the fan at the game that's yelling and screaming negative things all the time. I hate that more than anything. Stay positive, cheer your team on, and if we beat UC, I want nothing more than for UC to win every single game they play after that. It's the best thing that can happen to us.
Of course.
Even if we lose to UC, I want UC to win every single game afterwards.
Right.
I don't know why that becomes such a big thing. Back in the day, it was tough for me when I was a kid. Sure, I hated UC. I went against them all the time. Now I realize that that's actually a good thing when they win. No matter what. If we lose or win in the crosstown shootout, it is a good thing when UC wins their games. I want them to win.
It says something about your schedule, yeah. It helps your strength of schedule. Right?
Does that mean I wouldn't call myself a fan of UC, but I'm not going to root against them. I want them to win. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of their coach. I like a lot of their players. I really like Cumberland. I think that kid is phenomenal. That kid is fun to watch. He is a physical specimen. He is strong. I couldn't believe it. The kid's like 6'2", 6'3".
Is he?
Yeah, he is small. That's what I thought too. I thought he was like 6'6", 6'7", and pulled him up there. He's a little guy, but he is so physically they got him as 6'5". I thought he was. I guess I read that wrong too. Anyway, so
either way, he's the athletic
AAC
American
Player of the Year.
Yeah, right.
So good for him, and I hope they make a run. I hope they play well. I don't see them beating Houston. I think Houston is just that much better of a team. UC is going to be really good next year. If Cumberland comes back especially, I don't know if he will, but if he does, that team's going to be scary good.
Okay, so speaking of UC and Xavier, moving into that's the big thing too is people want to disparage and troll the other team, but more than anything else, their conference. Some Xavier fans want to say the American Athletic Conference is such a joke. It's
Okay.
and then some Xavier, and then of course all UC fans want to say the Big East is nowhere near what it was.
So here's
it's
the
a
deal.
garbage
To
conference
be
now because we're out of it and Xavier's in it.
Well, that's not the reason it's garbage now,
Right.
and it's not garbage now.
It's not garbage now.
Both leagues are good. The Big East is a little bit better than the AAC, but as a Xavier fan, I know that I dealt with that for a long time, listening to how bad the A10 was when they made it to the Big East and how great the Big East was, and that's what they're playing in. And even though we consistently beat them when they're in the Big East, that's all I care about is the head-to-head. But to be honest, yeah, the Big East is not the same old Big East. I have no problem admitting that. There's also not 16 teams in the Big East either anymore.
Right.
There's 10 teams.
Right.
Not all of them are great. Not all of them are bad. We've got 2 national championships since we've been in this Big East. I mean, that was they were a ridiculous team. But I don't. It is what it is. We were in a bad conference for a long time. They were in bad conference. They got in a good conference. They're back. They made a step back. We made a step up. It is what it is.
Right. Okay. So now moving into the Big East Conference Tournament, Xavier has a 4 seed, right? And they've got Creighton. They've got Creighton on Thursday. So
the 2 hottest teams probably in the Big East right now. Creighton currently sitting on Joe Lunardi's last 4 in.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier is currently in the
not
next.
Anywhere.
No, he's got first 4 in, first 4 out, and then a next 4 out. And Xavier was on the next 4 out.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So we're 8 away now. So that tells me that if they beat Creighton, that knocks them down, probably knocks us up. A lot of things would have to happen. They basically have to win the Big East tournament. That's maybe if they make it to the Big East championship game and lose in the Big East championship game in a close game to like a Marquette, which I'm not sure if they would end up playing Marquette before that or not.
No, that would
Marquette that would be the championship game. So if they were to lose a close game to like a Marquette, maybe that gives them a chance. If let's say Indiana beats Ohio State tomorrow and then immediately loses their next game, and we win and make it to the championship game, there's a chance we could knock both of those guys down a notch. But I don't know. I think they got to win the Big East tournament to really even have a chance. You want to be sure you made it in the tournament, win the Big East tournament.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Now, if you make it to the championship, that means beating Villanova. That means beating Creighton, beating Villanova, and then you're in the championship game, and then you're going to have to beat Marquette.
And it's not a given that Villanova.
Georgetown.
It's not a given that you're playing Villanova. Villanova is not playing good basketball right now.
Right. Well, yeah. Providence beat Butler today, so
handedly. And Providence is Providence has a good team. They're not a good team this year, but they have talent on that team and have beaten Villanova once already.
Yeah. But by virtue of what we know about their teams, you would think Villanova. Xavier would beat a pretty good Creighton team, a really good Villanova team, and then they would, it would be And I'll tell you, speaking of people who there's no guarantee, the way Marquette's lost at the end of the season, Georgetown or Seton Hall could get past them.
Sure.
And you could have a Xavier Georgetown championship game in the
Big East. Like I said, it's possible for the Big East. This is not a great. Marquette is the standout team in this Big East, but there's no team that can't be defeated, especially at the end of this year. Both Villanova and Marquette struggling a little bit at the end of the year. It is possible that Xavier could, get a little bit of a run and play a lower. They're obviously going to be playing well to beat those teams, but if you end up against a Georgetown, you have a lot of confidence in that game now.
Sure.
Especially with Najee Marshall coming back.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we agree Xavier has to, at the very, very least, make it to the championship. If they win, obviously they're in. If not, it's going to depend on a lot of other teams, on what a lot of other teams do. So they can only control as much as they can and keep winning. But even if they make it to the championship and lose, it's going to be out of their control.
Right. I said Providence beat Villanova once. They didn't.
Oh, okay.
So apologize.
Well, hey,
fact checking it, man. Fact checker.
You tricked me.
Just be confident. You don't have to be right. Just be confident.
Just be confident. Just make it look like you know what you're talking about. All right. Okay, so we covered Kentucky. We covered UC. We covered Xavier.
I don't want to get done with this without talking about the shot 2 nights ago and what happened last night with NKU in the Horizon League.
Yeah. So NKU, after they made it to the so what was it, like 7 or 8 years ago, they were a Division II team.
Was it even that long? Yeah, it was. It was because they had to play 5 years in Division I before they were eligible to make the tournament.
Right.
Last year was the first year they were eligible. Right?
Was last year the first year?
Maybe 2 years ago.
2 years ago was the first year that they made it to the tournament.
That was okay. It was somewhere in there, something like that.
So yeah,
maybe it was 3 years they had to play. Either way,
right. So anyway, for the second time in 3 years, NKU won the Horizon League, tournament, and Drew McDonald is going to go down as he's their senior leader, their best player. He's going to go down. A lot
of people talking about him being the best player in NKU history.
Very possibly.
I mean, I think Walt Kelsey might have something to say about that. And when Drew McDonald throws up 50 in a game, then maybe he can come talk to me.
Drew McDonald may have not had as good an individual game performance as
of course
Walt
it was
Kelsey,
D1 versus D2. So
right, that's true. Yeah. But either way, Drew McDonald, a kind of a hometown guy. He went to Newport Central Catholic around here. So he's a Northern Kentucky guy, stayed at home, played at NKU. He has been fantastic. He's a double-double machine, and he helped them to a really, really good season.
He struggled in that game, though. In the semifinal game, he struggled. He was 8 for 9 from 3 going into the last minute of the game.
8 for 9 from 3 is really good.
I'm sorry.
0 for 9?
He was 1 for 9.
1 for 9.
Sorry. So, 8 for 9 would be fantastic. He
struggled.
He missed 8 of 9 threes. That's what I meant to say. So, he was struggling in that game. In fact, the game was tied with 30 seconds left, and they had the ball, and he was on the bench, which is crazy if you think about it.
That is crazy.
Was it Wright State? Or who were they playing?
That's who
in
they
game?
played.
That's who they just played for the championship.
Right.
Whoever the game was before that, they came down. It was kind of a weird foul that went on. They hit 2 free throws. They're up by 2, and then they put him back in the game. So it's weird that he wasn't in. This could have easily gone down as being one of the worst coaching, moves, and people be talking about something in that, because that could have been the last after they shot the ball. There's an opportunity for them to not get the ball back.
Right.
So he may have – there was an opportunity for him to not get the ball in that situation. So congratulations to NKU, though.
So, yeah, and that play, he knocked down the three-pointer as a pick and pop, which he's a big guy. He'll go down and score on you. He'll back you down and make a post move and score over either shoulder, and then he'll jump out and knock down a three, and that's exactly what he did. Pick and pop. Got they doubled the ball, got the pass, knocked it down with what was like under 3 seconds. It was 1.5 seconds to go or something like that. Moved on to the championship game. They did beat Wright State, who was the number 1 seed in that tournament. So NKU is for the second time in 3 years going to the NCAA tournament.
Congratulations.
They Joe Lunardi. Very good. Thank you, audience. Joe Lunardi has them right now as a 14 seed playing, who was it? Somebody that they're not going to beat. Playing Purdue.
Hey, Purdue. I'm not saying anything, because that kid, that just with a guy like Drew McDonald on the team, especially him being a big guy on your team, so you're not going into a game already outmatched by somebody else's big guys, which is usually what happens to these 13, 14, 15, 16 seeds. They're just outsized and can't compete with that kind of size.
Yeah.
They've got a player that can compete in that way, which makes them scary. I'd love to see them win a game. I'd love to see NKU win a game. I'd love to see it for Drew McDonald, because he's a senior, and that would be a unbelievable way to leave school with a win in the NCAA tournament. The kid would definitely go down as the greatest player in NKU history in that case. But it's possible. Why not? We saw a 16 seed go down last year. There's parity in college basketball more than ever before. St. Mary's just beat Gonzaga. I thought Gonzaga was one of the top 3 teams in the country. They are one of the top 3 teams in the country, but they can be beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And this is a down year for St. Mary's. This isn't like, I don't want to call it a down year. I mean, St. Mary's is still good, but it's not the St. Mary's getting a 4 or 5 seed like 2-3 years ago.
They are perennially the second or third best team in the West Coast Conference. And I think they were again this year, but the gap between Gonzaga and St. Mary's or whoever the second best team was.
It's not even close.
Enormous this year, yeah. So, yeah, that was okay, that brings me to a swipe left, swipe right.
Okay.
Even after all this we talked about, swipe left or swipe right, conference tournaments.
Oh, swipe right. I absolutely love conference. This, I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard for me to say. I'm not going to say that it's almost as good as the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, but it's more important. So to watch these games, I think this is more important. That's lose or go home there, but this is, people are fighting for everything in this.
To get a chance to get into the tournament.
This is everybody's last chance to make a run. And to see some of the games that get played in the conference tournament are just as fun and just as exciting as anything you see in the NCAA tournament. It just doesn't get the hype that the NCAA tournament does. But I love conference tournaments. Absolutely love them. The old Big East tournaments when there was 27 teams or whatever right before the Big East went down, when they had brought in Louisville and UC and they had, I don't even know who all was in the Big East at one point in time. That was fun. It was it was almost like a mini NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it was. And that way they rivaled the ACC every year.
Oh,
for
100%.
For the best,
yeah.
best conference. But, okay, so I agree with everything you said except for the swipe. I swipe left. Conference tournaments are awesome. They're so exciting. They are, you see the buzzer beaters and the upsets, and it's really, really exciting to follow.
So what's the left swipe about?
Swipe left because it in some cases, it eliminates a body of work, a team, especially these lower level conferences, where a team they can go 28-2 and go undefeated in the conference, and they lose in the conference tournament, and they aren't getting an at-large bid.
Okay, that's not going to happen. Wolford was getting an at-large bid, whether they won or lost in that conference
possibly,
tournament.
But
they were the 20 seed. They were 20th in the nation. They were getting an at-large bid. It was going to happen. That was going to happen. Yeah, I don't know, man. If you're those like I said before, there's no mid majors out there anymore.
There are. The mid-majors that were years ago, the Gonzagas, the Xaviers, those guys aren't anymore. But you still have those lower-level conferences, the Ionas,
I feel like
the South Dakota States.
I feel like the big conferences have grown so much that there's a much larger gap now than there used to be. There used to not be that gap because you had VCU, you had Xavier, Gonzagas, you had Memphis, you had different teams like that were in that middle range. They're not in there anymore. They're all playing in bigger conferences now.
So then mid-major is not the thing. But there are low majors.
Sure.
Then.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then that's what I'm talking those about. I'm talking about those as mid-majors, I guess, thinking there's no lower level. But so there's a lower level and there's the upper level, right? So, but then for those lower level teams, that's what I mean. There's you see teams that win.
How often does that happen?
It happens every year.
That there's a team that could have gotten an at-large bid if there wasn't a conference tournament. That a team. So
yes.
you still want them to have an automatic bid for their conference. You just don't want it to be because of the conference tournament. You want it to be like the Ivy League, where you always had to. It was the winner of the conference.
Yes, that's the correct way to do it. Now,
well, they are the Ivy League, so they're probably the smartest.
It's exactly. That's a perfect. Exactly. So. But that's what I mean.
It's a perfect exactly.
You have to. It's a perfect exactly, and seriously though,
Yeah.
it's your body of work over an entire course of a season, playing your 10, 12, whatever it is, games, 16 games or whatever of conference play throughout the entire, your ups and downs, your highs and lows, your losing people to injury, getting them back, all that stuff. The teams that play the best, the most consistently, and win the most games, those people should be rewarded for their conference championships instead of the team who would have no shot of making the NCAA tournament if they didn't win 3 games in 3 days. I mean, I'm just...
I just don't know how often that happens either way. How often is there a team that wins the conference tournament? That wins a conference tournament. That, I mean, one would be if Xavier were to win, that they would be one.
Right.
How often does that really happen?
I feel like it happens every single year in at least one conference.
But what?
I really do.
I mean, in one of the big conferences, one of the big 6.
Not necessarily one of, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it happens the most.
But
in
those
smaller
other conferences are only getting one guy in anyway. So, and that guy's probably going to get in.
But you're not going to get the winner of the regular season championship is not necessarily your Ionas. You're not going to, you lose 2 or 3 games and win your conference championships.
You win the conference. You become the you win the conference.
The regular season
conference champion. I understand what you're saying. I like tournaments. Let's play them. Let's have them mean something. If you don't have them mean anything, then why play them?
Exactly. Don't play them.
So just start the tournament a week early?
Just start. Yes. Yep. Because that way you can get it into March anyway. You're playing like into
So you're going to take away. So you're going to take away conference tournaments from me. You're trying to take my prep week, my preparatory.
Yes.
Preparatory, whatever word. You're gonna take my fun, the early excitement, the
most exciting
the little
week in college
giddiness,
basketball.
the little giddiness I get in conference tournament. You want to take that from me? And make me just jump straight into the tournament?
I want to take it from you, and I want to take it from myself because, like I said, I feel exactly the same way you do about it. I love the conference tournaments. I just think they're stupid and they shouldn't be had.
Oh, that's rough. Oh man. I understand.
Unfair.
Listen,
they're
let me tell you.
Unfair is what I believe.
I understand where you're coming from. I understand. So what about like in football? Mm-hmm. I guess that's different because you're taking 2 teams. You're really taking the top 2 teams in each conference and letting them play for the championship. You're not letting everybody have an opportunity. So I guess it's a little different in football. So I can't make that comparison. I don't know what to compare it to. I just don't. I love it too much. And if you take away the fact that they get a bid from it, then you take away the point of even having it, and then we wouldn't have it. Now I'm not having as much fun, less college basketball. That is the sole reason I swipe right now. I understand what you're saying, and I feel bad. I feel bad for you little guys that I feel bad. I do.
I don't think UConn would have made the tournament that year that they won the Big East tournament and then won the national championship.
Syracuse beat them in that 6 overtime game. Syracuse won that game.
Oh, that was in the tournament. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Syracuse won that game. UConn lost, got a 4 seed or something. Or they were low. They might have been a 6 seed, and they ended up running the tournament.
Okay. So bad example there, or bad exactly there. But I'm telling you, it happens every single year.
I'm sure it does, and I don't think it happens to enough teams to make it worth changing. I need it to happen.
If it happens to your team, though,
if it happens to my team,
deal in the world.
It's not the biggest deal. No, it's not, because I understand. Then we should have played better throughout the regular season to get an at-large bid. That's how I feel. We should have done. We should have done more.
But you can't in some cases. Those small teams, those small conferences. You can have an unbelievable season, the best season you've ever had in your school's history, and because you play in the MEAC, you don't. You win the regular season championship, lose
Or
the tournament, and you're just not ranked high enough
I don't know, man.
to people who
You're not, but
you
you
didn't
what,
get
though?
the opportunity to play.
You know
those
what?
teams.
Here's the deal. We're letting you in. You wouldn't be. If that's the case, then if you're not going to play conference tournaments and give people a way in that way, then get rid of one team per conference, automatically making it in. I don't want you in there then. I want you to play. Now you're making me mad. You're making me mad now. I'm taking away your automatic bid now.
You know what's funny?
You're going to do that. I'm taking your automatic bid away.
Okay.
Now only the best teams are playing in the NCAA tournament.
Now that I made you mad, happy anniversary, because it's been a year since we've been doing this.
Hey!
Because we had this exact same conversation last year.
We probably did. Yeah. So congratulations, and thank you to everyone who has listened to the Nosebleeds podcast for a year, or for close to a year, or even for one episode. We appreciate it, but we've been doing this for a year, and we plan on being here for another 50.
Yeah.
That's how much fun I'm having. I'm using the buttons on the iPad today.
The clap button's getting a lot of play tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move into this. Okay. I'm not starting an historical speech here, but I had a dream. Okay.
Let's hear it, Mark.
Yeah.
Martin.
The Reverend Mark Luther King Jr.
Don't do that now. Come on, Martin. What we got?
All right. My dream this past weekend was, now I've lost at this point. I've lost some of the details, but here's the biggest part.
So before we get into this, I don't know how crazy this is going to be. I haven't heard it yet, but for the last 4 weeks now, we've talked about Adam's Saturday dreams. He has a dream every Saturday. Don't know why. Just every Saturday he remembers his dreams.
Weirdest thing.
So that's where this is coming from. Go ahead.
Okay. Now this Saturday, you know what? It was Saturday morning. It was Friday night, Saturday morning this time. This weekend. So it's always
it wasn't Saturday night. It just has to be.
It's a weekend.
It has to be a weekend deal.
I don't know what the deal is with that. Anyway, the big thing that I remember, so I'm terrified of snakes. Like if I see a snake, it's a bad thing. There was a snake. I don't know where I was. There was a snake though, and one of my uncles that married into my dad's side.
Okay.
So not from our side of the family, but one of my uncles from that married into my dad's side of the family was there as well. I think there were some other people there, but he's the only one I really conversed with, I guess.
Okay.
I'm terrified of the snake. I'm like, oh my God. So my uncle's like, what's the big deal? You know, it doesn't hurt if he bites you. It doesn't even really hurt, right? Which is what people have been telling me about dog bites all these years. Like,
they hurt. No, they hurt.
Do they hurt?
Sure.
Because people just like when they play with their dogs and stuff that.
No, that doesn't hurt.
See, but that still looks like the same bite to me. that looks like the same
if
thing.
It's not
to
breaking
me.
skin. It ain't no big deal.
But okay. So that's basically what my uncle's telling me.
Okay.
This snake, even if he bites you, it's not going to hurt that much, right? So he's like, here, look, let's the snake bite him. Okay. He's like, see. Not that big a deal. So I'm still like petrified. I'm shaking. Keep that thing away from me.
Yeah.
But he's like trying to convince me, like, look, it's not a big deal. It's just a snake. Even if it bites. So he picks it up and he like brings it to me, and I'm like crouching down. My every single muscle in my body is tense, and he brings it over. And he kind of puts it on me and puts the head on my arm. The snake bites my arm.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at it, biting my arm, and I'm kind of realizing that he was kind of right. Like it didn't really hurt that much. It felt like a little pinch or a little sting, but it didn't hurt that much. But a snake is biting me, which is like one of the worst things that I could ever possibly imagine. So I'm still really scared, but at the same time, this snake is biting me, and I'm like, oh, actually, okay, I think I'm surviving this, and this is like I'm dealing with this. I'm doing it.
Right.
End of dream.
That's it.
End of dream.
It just ended.
And
you were so nervous you woke up.
I was so freaked out about the snake that was on me
that you woke up.
Look,
I'm
feeling a snake on the back of my
I'm
neck
just
right
happy
now.
that you remember your dreams. I cannot tell you the last dream I remember. Yeah, well, what was the? I don't know. I can't tell you the last dream I remember.
Probably when you were sleeping on the couch at U.S. Bank.
Probably U.S. Bank, yeah, because I could do whatever I wanted in that case. That thing was magic.
Controlled dreams, first man ever.
Yes. I don't know about that, but if I am, then everybody needs to sleep on that couch.
The magic couch.
The
big
magic
comfy
couch. It wasn't comfy at all.
No?
Might be why.
Maybe that's why.
I was never actually asleep.
You were daydreaming.
I was just daydreaming.
How often do you daydream?
Dude, I drive all day long. I'm daydreaming
You're
constantly.
daydreaming a lot
Oh
then,
my
yep.
gosh, yes. Are you kidding
So do
me?
I.
Windshield time. I'm sometimes I'll be daydreaming and I'm two or three what do you call those lanes over.
And
I
suddenly
know how I
you
got there.
Yeah, and suddenly you kind of come to and you're like, "Oh my god, how long did that last?
Yeah.
What have I been I have no idea. I have not been paying attention to driving for the last 10 minutes."
Well, that happens whether I'm daydreaming or not. So
be safe on the road,
Hey.
man. Come on.
I rack up a few miles. I'm
Yeah,
doing
you
all
do
right.
all right. Yeah. Yeah, I daydream I feel like constantly.
Yeah.
I just get into the zone and I don't
Yep. I also daydream while I read.
know. Yeah, okay.
I end up having to read everything like 15 times.
Yeah, no, I do the same.
I'm terrible at reading. I'm just a
Yeah.
terrible reader.
Comprehension's bad for me.
Yeah, I might have the AD thing, but who knows?
Yeah, whatever it's called now. ADD,
Right.
ADHD, AD,
PLMP,
ADHD.
LMNOP.
Uh,
All right, so what do we got next, man? What do we got? What do we got next after we get into the dream segment? We're doing good.
The thing that I've been most excited about talking about with you this week,
Yes.
not conference tournaments, not
Let's-
college basketball.
Let's talk some NBA.
The biggest story. So I'm going to lead it off with this.
Let's
okay?
do it.
We
Big
got
three.
three things.
Big three every week. We do the big three in the NBA. Try to get the biggest things that are happening. What is number one this week?
The Russell Westbrook versus Utah fan saga.
All right, so let me start on this.
Do it.
Okay? So Russell Westbrook is caught on video telling a fan he's going to F him up, him and his wife. I promise on everything I love. That's basically what he said. Mm-hmm. They interview the fan. The fan says, look, I didn't say anything except for he's going to need the heat that's on his knees or something like that. Says that's all he said. I don't know what the guy said. I have no idea. Number one, Russ, shut up. That's number one. Number two, I guarantee you that fan said something inappropriate. Guarantee it. And I don't, it's hard for me to guarantee something, but they've gone back and they've seen his Twitter. He's said multiple things about Russell Wilson. You can look it up. He's deleted his tweeter, whatever that thing is. He's deleted it. You can go back and find them, though. They have them. There's racist comments. There's just straight mean comments. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. So this dude was going there, and fans pick on players that they know they can get under their skin and get a rise out of. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. I probably did it once or twice when I was a kid. It is what it is, or, younger and would yell down in the bullpens at people or something like that. I'm sure I did. But when you're a grown man, don't do that. But at the same time, look, Russ, you got to realize something, man. You are making a lot of money to play basketball. All right, if you want to have interactions with fans, he's always having. He was yelling at some kid's dad in the front row one time because the kid. Come on, man, it's a kid. So you've got to realize that you are not above all these people that are out there. I like the way you sent the thing to me from Jason Whitlock, and that was awesome. I think he said it perfectly. But he's got to realize that he's making a lot of money to play this game. And you have got to – they're going to be trying to do it. In fact, now that they know you get pissed off at them, they're going to come at you even more. So – you're going to have to learn to deal with it, brother, and learn to knock it out. They're only doing it for one reason, and it's to piss you off, and it's working. So they're going to continue to do it. You're a thin-skinned cat. It is what it is. I don't like it. I don't like that I don't like fans that yell at players, yell negative things at the other team's players. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like players yelling back into the crowd because I think they're better than that. In college, I would be completely okay if somebody was talking to somebody like that in college and they went up and beat the guy up in the middle of the stands. I'd be fine with it. They're not making any money. They are getting put through it, and they're kids that these people are yelling at. I'd be fine with that. You're a grown man, number one. Number two, you're making money. This is your job. If somebody came to your job, Adam, and went up to you and said, I don't know, whatever, anything terrible like that, and you just decided to start cussing them out, both of you guys would probably be fired.
Okay.
That was a terrible example at the end, but I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. I think they're both idiots. I think they're both the dumbest people that I can stand. Listen, I know you love Russell Westbrook. I can't stand Russell Westbrook. And he's almost on Draymond Green's level to me.
Who we're going to talk about in a little bit here.
Right.
But as far as Russell Westbrook goes,
I know what you're going to say.
do you?
You're going to tell me that it's not fair for an NBA player to have to deal with people yelling and screaming at him all the time, and it's just not fair. And I feel like it should be okay for them to just walk up and say whatever they want if somebody can say something to them. Nah, man, they paid money to come see you so you can get paid.
You know what the best part about that is it was a perfect impression because number one, you're not wrong, and number two, you softened your voice because my voice is so much quieter just naturally. I don't know why, but I have to really speak up, and sometimes when I say stuff on here and I don't speak up enough, you can't even hear it when I'm listening back to.
Usually because I'm talking over you.
No, I just mean no. Just
anyway,
I just don't.
So
speak
tell
loud enough.
me about how you're fine with it.
I don't disagree with most of what you said. First and foremost, both guys I think hold some blame here in this whole thing. Russell Westbrook, without question, crossed the line when I think he only crossed the line when he said that he would.
That he was going to mess his wife up. I'm going to tell you right now, this whole thing wouldn't have went anywhere if he doesn't say that. If he doesn't say you and your wife, this is just another stupid thing you see Russ doing. But he said you and your wife. That's what did it. That is 100% the only reason this is a conversation right now. Because Russ has done this a bazillion times, and it's all been caught on tape. Mm-hmm. But this time, he said something about a woman. That's what did it.
Yeah, and I hope he regrets it.
He did. He immediately came. That was the very first thing he said without being asked about it. So good for him.
Mm-hmm. But you have to. He's an incredibly emotional guy. We know that about Russell Westbrook. Incredibly emotional, and I'm not saying that as a precursor to that's an excuse for him. I'm saying he is, and that's
the reason
it's a problem. It's a problem for him.
Yes,
and so he's very emotional. He's very, like you said, thin-skinned, and you have to be in the position he is in. You have to have thicker skin, or you are going to get into it with fans. And exactly like you said, he's gotten into it with fans more than anybody else, or at least we've seen more than anybody else, because that's the thing. He's a superstar. He's a superstar, and fans are going to go after the superstars. Fans are going to go after the superstars who are easily riled up.
Yeah.
And he is. It's exactly what he is. He, Draymond Green, those guys are emotional guys, wear their heart on their sleeve, and they don't always think rationally, and they get their especially when their adrenaline's going during a game. That really that's the case for everybody, even the fans, not nearly as much as the players. But your adrenaline gets going, you really get, and you kind of get outside yourself. You kind of forget about how to behave in a normal setting. So. And that is the case. That is the case for a lot of guys. It's much more the case for Westbrook than a lot of people. What he said about the guy's wife, inappropriate, crossed the line. it's tough because you didn't hear anything on the video from the guy.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate you got one side of it. You got this guy saying that.
Right.
You got guys on the bench saying that what Russ said, the guy said was there. I don't know. He told him to get on his knees or told him he had heat on his knees. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It fascinates me
How that goes against your family, I don't know. But then again, I don't know what else was said. So.
That's the other thing too is Russell Westbrook's thinking about when he brought up that it was a racial comment. Now, Russell Westbrook believes that the guy said, "Get on your knees like you're used to doing," or something along those lines.
Right.
To Russell Westbrook, that was a racial comment. I have no clue how that's a racial comment, but I am not Russell Westbrook. I'm not Raymond Felton. I'm not Patrick Patterson. I'm not Donovan Mitchell. I'm not the guys who are African American and who grew up and who were African American people before they were famous and experienced a world in a country.
There's no way we
completely
could
differently.
Neither
than
of
I
us
did.
can talk about it because we
Right.
never had to deal with it.
Right. So, but I don't. From my perspective, I do not understand where he came up with that. I don't feel like I've ever heard that used. That's a sexual thing, a
it's
sexual
not
innuendo.
not even on the racist side. He also said it was a threat towards his family.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going towards his family either. But listen, you got pissed off. You took it out. You're gonna say everything you're gonna say to give a reason on why you said it,
Right.
on why you went off. You're gonna come up with every single thing. I don't want to say come up with. You're not going to come. You are going to rationalize in your head every possible way you can to get pissed at this guy, and that's what he came out and said. I understand what he's saying. I mean, I take that back. I don't understand what he's saying. I understand that he is rationalizing his decision to make this, and he's going to come up with whatever in his brain decides to come up with.
That's another part of this whole thing that's fascinating to me is even after he had time, another day or whatever, to think about it, to calm down after the game, he has been very vocal, and it's continuing on from last year in Utah during the playoffs. Same thing happened, or a similar thing happened where he had a run-in or two with fans, and we've heard other players and other people in the media have come out and said, you know what, Utah is one of the worst places as far as fans.
Sure, Utah,
getting on
Boston.
players.
You've heard Boston's terrible.
Sure.
But and here's the deal, and those are racist things that are said all the time. I'm not saying that there's not.
Oh, yeah,
and I
definitely.
know these guys. Listen, you got to put up with a lot, but it's and there's no excuse for it. I think they banned the fan for life. First off, I hate the banned for life thing. There's no way
you do
in
hate that.
God's green earth you're gonna know if that ding dong rum dum ever decides to come back to a game. In his history, you don't know if he's sitting in the nosebleeds next time or whatever. He can go to any flipping game he wants. Will he be able to sit that close? Probably not. They're going to have his picture. Everybody's going to know what that dude looks like around in those ushers down around the bottom. However, at the same time, a lifetime ban in 20 years, that dude wants to come to a game and pays big money to go sit down there. He's going to go sit down there. I'm going to tell you right now, it's stupid that they even say that. They're doing it to cover their own ass. I understand that.
Sure.
And that guy was an idiot and deserves that kind of ban because you shouldn't be saying things like that to another grown man. Just because you paid $400 for a ticket doesn't give you the right to berate somebody. That's ridiculous. It pisses me off more than anything in the world. If anything, the closer you sit, the more respectful you should be to those people. If you ask me, somebody like that should be kicked out before that ever gets to that point. Besides that, I'm getting irritated right now. I sat on the floor the other day at a Xavier game. They have a big thing, a card. I mean, it's all about, it's on every single courtside seat. It says how, it tells you, about being respectful and about what you can and cannot say. And please do not, you're not even supposed to stand up,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. It's tough for me to do.
Well,
but
in the first row.
But anyway, what I'm saying is I don't care what you paid. I don't care who you are. You're an idiot. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. You're a grown man. You're a grown man.
So
Shut up.
it's very interesting to me because one of the things that I disagree a little bit with you about from the first thing you said is, for me, I don't care if Russell Westbrook's playing for free, getting paid $1 a game, or getting paid $10 million a game. I don't think that means that he should have to deal with. Now, some of that stuff.
No. He shouldn't have to deal with it, but it's gonna happen.
It's going.
So you're gonna have to deal with it. I'm not telling you that I think it's okay and that you just got to deal with it. I still think that guy in the stands is an idiot, and I think he's worse off to blame than Russell is. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you are getting paid to be in that place to play basketball. And honestly, those fans are there to cheer and scream and yell and do what they can to help their team win. You got the sixth man, they call him the 12th man in football. They're there to be loud and to try to get in the other team's, not to get in the other team's head, but, to throw people off. People take that in a different way. It's going to happen. You're never going to stop people from screaming and yelling at people, derogatory things at you. It's not – get it in your head, dude. It's not going to stop, especially now. It's going to be worse for you now.
Well,
worse.
But it might not be, because especially wherever he goes, security is going to be all over everybody near the bench.
I'm going to tell you right now, everybody is going to be saying everything they possibly can without cursing or saying something sexual or anything like that. But they are going to do everything they can to get in his head.
Well, then, if you can do that without being disrespectful, okay. And I think he can deal with that. I think he's heard that his entire career. But when somebody, and he is thinner skinned than most people, so he has turned on some fans, but I just think.
Do you think he hears any more than like LeBron hears, or any more than Chris Paul hears, or any more?
No.
He hears the same stuff all those guys hear.
I agree with you. And he doesn't handle it as well as those guys do.
No.
But at the same time, exactly what he said, and he got the support, obviously, from his teammates. And that's the thing, too. Like, when Raymond Felton, Patrick Patterson, they were sitting on the bench, and they said they heard what the guy said.
Did you watch them in the video? If they were so pissed off, why were they just sitting there just looking over? They're almost rolling their eyes while it was going on.
Yeah, I don't know that they were mad. I think they just were – I think they were – you could hear somebody say Russ or something.
That was somebody on the
court.
court. Somebody on the court told him.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That was somebody on the court talking to him.
And it was somebody out of the camera view, but and he's like, no, I don't care, and he was just so far gone at that point. But those guys supported him. The Utah Jazz players supported him. Other guys tweeted and stuff from around the league. And they said this has been a problem. What he's saying is correct. We have to get better security, basically, for stuff like this.
And I'm fine with that. You should. But at the same time, there's no reason to go off. No reason to go off on these guys like that.
I think
on either side of the ball.
But if you are hearing things that you feel like are way over the line,
you're talking to the wrong guy. It's hard to go over. It'd be pretty hard for somebody I don't know to go over the line with me, because number one, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me, my family. You can say whatever you want. You might just know something from Google. That's all you know. You don't know. You don't bother me. In fact, if you're going to say something, I'm probably going to laugh at you before I'm going to get pissed at you.
Right. It's a different situation though. Like, number one, you are like in this state of like nirvana at all times. Like, you,
that's not true.
Nothing
Ask my kids. That's
nothing
not true.
bothers you ever. And I wish you could give some of that to Russell Westbrook and to me.
He needs it. He needs it.
But it's just there are so many dynamics to this story that are so interesting to me. It's unbelievable when I saw the video of Russ first, and then the video of the guy being interviewed after the game.
You send them both to me.
And just how opposite they were, just how opposite their stories were. Like, the guy kind of actually came across as like, kind of a pretty regular, decent guy as he's talking about that.
Man, he stumbled a couple times. I could tell when I first watched that video that what he was saying wasn't true.
Really?
Yeah.
See, he fooled me then.
As he was talking, he stumbled a couple times because he said, and that's all. I swear I never cursed. He said, I swear I never cursed. I believe that because he was quick and very honest about it. But then when they asked him what he said, he was kind of moving around the words exactly with what he said. He was real quick and talking real easy with the guy, and then they got to that, and that's all I said. And you could tell that was not all you said.
Well, he tricked me, and he said he was talking about his wife or whoever she is. She has a different last name. I don't know how she's his wife, but anyway.
It's possible. You don't
it
have
is
to
possible.
change your name.
That's true. That's true. Anyway.
Pretty sure Beyonce is still Beyonce Knowles.
Does she even have a last name anymore?
It's just B.
I think it might be.
I apologize, all the queens or beehives and all that stuff. I'm not saying anything bad. She's amazing. Beyonce is my favorite person in the whole world.
Yeah, overrated. But anyway.
You're crazy.
But anyway.
You serious?
I'm serious.
Hold
Beyonce's
on.
overrated.
We're at an hour and 15 minutes.
I hope people are still listening. Beyonce's overrated.
Nobody
can hear me on this
Facebook anyway. So, I'm just gonna tell you that Beyonce is not overrated. Now, I think the Lemonade album, I think that was overrated.
Never even heard of the Lemonade album.
I think that was overrated. But my girl B, not overrated. No. In fact, I might put her under. I might have her underrated. She might be underrated.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
All right. So we are like as opposite on this as Russell Westbrook
and Jason Schmiegel or whatever his name was.
Jason Schmiegel.
Wasn't that what was his name? Jason Schmiegel or something like that?
No, his name wasn't Jason.
It started with a J and his last name started with an SH. Might as well be Jason Schmiegel.
Anyway, that's a person you know, kind of, almost.
I don't know anybody named Jason Schmiegel.
Not the L. Take the L off.
Oh, yeah. That's my bug guy. That's my dude. I like that dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to use him next year, too, by the way, when it gets warm.
It's wonderful. Ohio Mosquito Control. If you need help with your bug control, hit my dude up, Ohio Mosquito Control. I don't know what the website is off the top of my head. Jason Schmieg. Dude gets rid of your bugs. There ain't no doubt about it.
Nice. Okay, so you know what? I'll wrap that story up. There's so much to it that just interests me.
There's so much that goes into all of this, and we didn't get to any of the other two big three yet, and we're getting long on time. But I would like to talk about Draymond real quick, so let's do it.
So the other day, Steve Kerr was caught on video again. Everything is videoed.
Draymond's effing S.
Yeah. So he said something along those lines. I'm
effing tired. I'm effing tired of Draymond.
Basically, he's tired of Draymond. His antics is what he's talking about. His always getting into it with people, especially on the other team. Sometimes fans, sometimes his teammates. Constantly with the officials, being so demonstrative towards the officials. I think that's what he was talking about.
That's what pisses you off more than anything.
That's what makes me more mad than anything.
So you hope that's why Steve Kerr was saying
But I feel like it was an all-encompassing thing. Like,
it is.
He was saying his...
It is. Draymond is the worst, most annoying human being I've ever seen. If you listen to this show, I can't stand Draymond Green. I think Draymond Green is probably an awesome dude off the court. And in fact, I've heard him in different interviews, not after games, but in between games, days after games, and the guy seems like a good-hearted, like an actual pretty cool cat. That's fine. I'm not talking about Draymond as a person because I don't know that, but Draymond as a player, I can't stand that guy.
It was a culmination of just a lot of frustration for Steve Kerr, for all the players on that team, for the entire organization, the fans. You had the whole thing with Klay Thompson after that. I think after that same game, saying something about how he was thought that the fans would be into it a little bit more, and then they got big backlash from that.
Win games, brother. Listen, you got to win games for the fans to be into you.
And the bad thing was they lost to Phoenix, who's like the third worst team in the league, or second worst team in the league.
And Golden State's still the greatest, and they're the best team in basketball right now. When they get to the playoffs, they're going to turn it on. They're going to beat everybody. They're going to knock them all. It is what it is. It's going to happen.
You still feel that way?
I still feel that way. DeMarcus Cousins.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say they're 4-6. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. That hasn't happened in 6 years there.
It hasn't. But you know what? This team, I'm telling you, this team is special still. When this team needs to win, they are going to. They don't need, even though they've lost 6 out of their last 10. These games aren't that important right now. In fact, they're probably the least important games of the year right now. I feel like that second week before the season, before the 2 weeks before playoffs, then things start getting back up again. You got to start ramping things up. But right now, this is like this. It means nothing. I don't really care what they do right now because that team has 8 All-Stars on it.
Yeah.
Not really 8, but I mean, I wouldn't
3
know.
this year, but yeah.
Well, 3 this year, but in total,
5.
yeah. Iguodala's been an All-Star.
He has been.
So
not with them, but yeah.
But he has been.
Right.
I mean, you're talking 6 guys that have been an All-Star on one team. That team is legit. They're unbelievable. DeMarcus Cousins is there now. I just don't know. I hope Steve Kerr is good with spreading minutes out, but he, I don't think you're going to see a lot of fourth quarter play in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Possibly not. And they're seeding. They're going to either be a 1 or 2 seed. I don't think there's really any chance of them falling below 2. But they only have a 1-game leading on Denver right now for that 1 seed. So if it means anything to them, I don't think the 1 seed means anything to them, because it's not gonna really matter in the playoffs.
They probably don't want to be the number 1 seed because then they're going to have to play LeBron and the Lakers.
Well, no, they will not. No, LeBron's playing his 25 a game now, and he's still putting up like 28, 8 and 8 or something like that in his 25 minutes somehow still.
Because he's the greatest player on earth.
I know he is.
Thank you. I'm just so happy you said that. About time people start realizing it.
I actually saw a thing today that said LeBron James going to make the first team All-NBA this year?
Why not? Yeah. He's averaging like 24.5 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 9 rebounds, 8 assists.
Other guys are playing as well or better.
All right, so who you put over him?
Well,
this year.
Off the top of my head, if you have to
I
go
hate
by
doing that to people.
If you have to go by position, first team All-NBA, if LeBron's a forward, then you've got Giannis.
Yeah.
You've got Giannis
you got
for
KD,
sure.
Giannis.
KD possibly, yeah. You got Jokic, Embiid. Those guys are, one of those guys are probably going to be the center. You're probably not going to make it as a guard. You're going to have Harden and Steph probably.
Westbrook.
Yeah, maybe.
Paul George.
I don't know. Paul George will be George will be first team.
Yeah.
So you got Giannis and Paul George as your forwards.
So maybe
anyway.
he doesn't. Yeah, poor LeBron didn't make it 1 year.
Well, we'll see. But anyhow, so the whole Warriors thing, it was kind of funny. Steve Kerr got caught. Now Draymond
He got caught, and I guarantee you that he's told Draymond that same thing before. So Draymond probably, I didn't hear what Draymond had to say, but I bet he understands it because Draymond has talked before that he knows he gets overboard a lot. He gets too far because of, like you talked about with Russ, with that passion that they play with, and they lose themselves in the game. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think that you gotta have that passion, but you can't lose yourself in the game, and that happens to those two way too often. And Draymond knows it, so I bet what he said was something to that effect.
It was. You're right. It was. He kind of said, people say that kind of stuff all the time. I'm sure coaches are tired of players all the time. Players are tired of coaches all the time. It happens. And especially this team, your core group of guys that have played more basketball than anybody else in the world because they're playing into the finals
every year.
For the last 5 years or whatever, for the last 4 years. They're tired of each other, and you can tell. You can tell sometimes, and that is the case. It's not hard to be tired of Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr was feeling it. At the same time, I've heard people say that Draymond Green puts Steve Kerr up there with the very few people as someone that he trusts and loves and will be there and as a part of his life.
And I'm sure Steve Kerr loves Draymond Green.
Yes.
But that doesn't, just because you love somebody and you love who they are and how they play and what they do for you, doesn't mean that every once in a while you can't be like, I'm sick and effing tired of this. Quit.
And that's exactly what happened.
Plus, he's talking to another coach. Coaches talk to each other.
Coaches
like that
say that stuff all the time about players. I'm sure Draymond's right. Players say that stuff all the time about other players and coaches. I'm sure all of the referees in the NBA say that about Draymond every day. Anyway, it was just an interesting thing because, of course, you had the immediate, super everybody reacts to it on Twitter.
So I'm done with this, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't stand As soon as something happens, everybody goes nuts immediately. I hate that. I can't stand it. It's what do you call it? It's right now. It's like everything's right now. Nobody takes a second to think about, okay, let's think about it. First off, number one, my big thing is, have I ever been in that situation before? Most of the time I have. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's figure out how this dude got into the situation he was in. I'm not talking just about Draymond. I'm talking about anything. Mm-hmm. Let's just think about. Let's think it out. You know, there's a lot of things that people say things that are pretty bad. Sometimes they get caught on tape. I'm going to tell you right now, if you walked into a room with 100 people that you know, 99 or 100 of them have said something that if it was on tape, they would have got some big time backlash.
They would not want other people to hear. Right?
Exactly. It is what it is. You say things. It happens all the time. You got to be careful and politically correct now and all that stuff because people are going to kill you immediately for it.
Especially if you're famous.
Man. Sit back. Think about it for a minute. More than likely, whatever you heard is not what the dude said. Even with this Draymond Green thing, when I first saw it, it's cut off so quick. He could have been sick and tired of Draymond's anything, his antics, his not passing the ball in a certain situation. I mean, it could have been anything.
Mm-hmm. What I like is that Steve Kerr,
joked about it.
He joked about it, but he really, by joking, he basically admitted to saying like, yeah, that's pretty much what I said.
Yeah. I said, I guarantee he's probably told Draymond to.
Yep.
To his face.
So anyway, that was it. The very last thing was the Serge Ibaka and Marquise Chris.
Just another idiot thing. Serge Ibaka. No reason. It looked like Chris was staring him down after. It looked like he may have pushed him, or Ibaka was really just falling backwards and he didn't hold on to him. So that dude just kind of looked at him a little bit, and Ibaka went nuts. There had to be something going on before that. There had to be something going on in that game before that.
There was a hard foul earlier in the game. It was just a foul. I think that Ibaka hit the floor hard or something. And I'm sure they were going back and forth. But it was a simple, like, tangle up where you're battling for position, like that happens on every shot that goes up. You know, they were throwing a length of the court pass at the end of a quarter or whatever, and they just kind of were locked up for a second. Ibaka, I think, flopped and went to the ground, or maybe he fell or whatever, but it was just a normal basketball play. And whatever Marquise Chris said to him,
I didn't see him open his mouth. He just gave him a little stare. What it looked like to me.
It looked like he told Serge Ibaka, I'm going to murder your entire family right now.
The way that Ibaka went after him.
And Serge Ibaka reacted that way.
At the same time, how fun is it to see an NBA fight? That's a legit fight. That was a legit fight.
They actually threw punches.
Yeah. One got landed. I feel like Ibaka had one that semi
I don't think he landed.
Not the first one didn't, but he came back with he missed with his left and came back with his right, and I think he might have slid across his jaw.
So the unfortunate thing is they both got ejected from the game, and I don't think Marquise Chris should have.
Why does that dude get ejected from that game? That's
because he fought.
Not ejected. I apologize. Why does he get suspended? Why does he get a 1-game suspension for that?
For fighting.
You know what, though? Some guy comes, what are you going to do? Exactly. What am I supposed to do? Just curl into the fetal position?
Maybe because he threw a punch. I think maybe that was it. Now, you can try to wrap him up.
He had 2 punches thrown at him first.
Right. But if you I think maybe if he tries to wrap him up or tries to push him away.
Somebody walks up to you immediately, just boom, runs at you for absolutely no reason and throws 2 punches. What are you doing?
Running for my life.
Okay, well, if you can't run because you are surrounded by fans and spectators.
He could run anywhere. he could run through the tunnel.
Ibaka already had him. He wasn't getting away from that.
He had him by the throat, and then he just wrestled him onto the stanchion.
He didn't have him by the throat again.
He didn't, but he grabbed the first grab was the.
But he never actually grabbed. His hand hit his throat. I'll give you that. But he never grabbed. He never strangled. It hit his throat and went off to the side.
I don't
like people saying he strangled him. He grabbed him by the throat. He didn't grab him by the throat. His hand hit the dude's throat and went off to the side. Once again, everybody blowing up.
Right.
Half the people probably said they didn't even see it.
I like to tell people that Undertaker was his favorite wrestler, and he was trying to chokeslam him.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the last of the big 3 thing. And yeah, Serge Ibaka did get 3 games. Marquise Chris got 1. Serge Ibaka got 3 because, and they specifically said, because he initiated the fight and because of his history of fighting.
Yeah.
He gets into it all the time with guys, and it's the league is coming down on him a little bit harder.
He's just
with 3
upset
games.
because his name is Surge. I feel like I wouldn't be too happy with that name.
I don't know. The lead singer of System of a Down, his name is Serge.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
You're welcome for that little
Thank you.
little piece of information.
Thank you. I'm trying to remember. There's it's something about a table and something in that weird song that they came out with that made no sense at all. It was like a Beck song.
You're talking about every single System of a Down song.
That's what I mean. They sound like they all sound like a Beck song.
They're so weird, and I was so into them for like 2 years. Yeah.
My self-righteous.
See, you know. Good job.
It took me a while to figure it back out, but I got it. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah. Listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for, if you tried to watch, thank you. I think some people watched for a short time until the audio, for whatever reason, wasn't working. You can hear this, though. If you tried to watch, you couldn't hear it. You can hear it on all the platforms. Every platform you can possibly think of, just about. Look for us. Search Nosebleed Sports Podcast.
Two words.
Nosebleed.
Please, if anybody was going to, I get a lot of people asking me why they can't find it. It's Nosebleeds is 2 words. If you have a nosebleed, you would say, I have a nose space bleed.
Yes.
It works the exact same way. If you had nosebleed tickets, it would be 2 words. Our podcast works the same way.
Nose and then bleeds.
That's why you can't find us.
So search for us on all of those platforms. Like, subscribe. That's it. I mean, jump on our Facebook page, probably sometime tomorrow, and vote on the greatest nicknames in NBA history. That's it for me.
If you're listening to it, do it today because it'll be on when you're listening to it.
It'll be on when you're listening, yes. Enjoy the conference tournaments.
Don't forget to turn your headlights on.